Hello there guys, my name is WarfareTactical, also known as Twitch on PSN. Today I'm going to be doing a newer jet guide. So I'm playing on Albo's Mountain from the Armored Code DLC, which is the first snow map ever, and it includes the first clouds, which are real instead of just a pretty picture displayed on top of the map. So I'm currently just circling the mountain to get behind the jets and helicopter. So I'm just going to talk mainly about the gameplay for the first minute or two, because it's kind of useful to know what I'm doing, and it might help you when you get into the game and try flying the jet yourself. So here's my first tip: release your minigun in mini bursts. As you see here, this is what I'm doing with the chopper, and it stops it overheating so I can get more shots away and disable this helicopter. I accidentally crashed into him, but it's not jet ramming as I didn't die myself and he was already disabled. So here I'm just going really close to the ground as my ECM jammer released too late, so it caused the missiles to circle around me, but see, when I was close to the ground, the missiles hit it to avoid me getting hit, and I quickly made the enemy aircraft crash due to my maneuvers I was doing. Okay, so I'm just currently flying up here looking for other enemies, and I'm just going to release a guided missile at that jeep. I'm running a setup of ECM jammer, guided missile and air radar. My favourite setup in the game, and I'll explain that later. So we're going to talk about the specializations now you unlock for the jet. So the first specialization is beam scanning. This is a computer upgrade for advanced weapon systems such as the heat seekers and the guided missile. This helps you lock on faster, so instead of locking on in 3 seconds with the heat seekers, it only takes 1, and this applies for the guided missile as well. Next, we have maintenance, and this gives you a 20% health regeneration speed, so you repair faster and you don't get disabled as easily. We now have air radar, the one that I always use, and this basically turns your main map into a radar, and you can see every other enemy aircraft which is in the sky, unless they have ECM jammer deployed, which they will go off your mini map for 5 seconds. We also have beam scanning, so it works a bit like a radar, except it detects tanks instead of aircraft, and it also detects jeeps and the infantry fighting vehicles. So this can be useful if you're going for guided strikes with the guided missile, but it's pretty useless in my opinion, as you can already pick up the enemies when you go into the guided missile beam, as it mainly highlights them if you get close enough due to it locking onto them. We also have bout speed, and this enhances the mechanism, so it decreases the minimum time between fire and burst with your main weapon, and this basically gives you a minus 20% of reload time, so it gives you that extra second to get off your shots. And lastly, we have stealth. So this is very useful if you're in a helicopter but not useful in a jet. It gives you a 35% increased lock speed for anybody that is using a Stinger or heat seeker against you. This might seem useful, but if you're a good pilot, you won't get into situations where you'll need that extra second. Okay, we are now going to go on to the second specialization you unlock. There are 3 of these for the jet. We have the ECM jammer, the extinguisher, and we have the flares. Okay, so we're going to start with the extinguisher. The extinguisher returns your vehicle to 37% health if you get disabled, but it takes a 25-second recharge speed, so it isn't that useful, because if you're already disabled and you boost back up to 37%, if you take a tiny bit of a hit from another jet, you're just going to get disabled again. I used to use it a lot, but now seeing that a lot more people use Stingers, heat seekers, and they've got a better shot with the jet, it's kind of faded away from the Battlefield 3 community. Next we're going to move on to the ECM jammer, my favourite unlock. So this is like the IR flares, uses the same pattern to release it, and it lasts 5 seconds, blocking all lock-ons. You have to use this before they actually fire the missile, else it won't work. The missile will just circle you and hit you after a couple of seconds, so if you do it too late, or fly near the ground like I showed you at the start. And it only requires 10 seconds before it can be reactivated, so since it lasts for 5 seconds, you only have a 5 second between useless, and it also has the use of removing you from the air radar of your other pilots, so you can use it to get behind them without them noticing. And lastly, we have the famous IR flares, which I made you were using that from the very start, and it used to require a 300 points to unlock, but now you don't have to unlock it anything with points. So basically you release this whenever someone has a missile array and it breaks the lock, but it requires 11 seconds waiting period, so you can easily be hit by again if there's 2 people locking onto you. This is sometimes useful, but not that much these days. We now have our third shot. What weapons do you want to use? So if the enemy is using a lot of our vehicles, you might want to go for heat seekers if your shot's not that good, and it deals around 50% damage. So if you get hit by 2 of these, you're probably going to die, or you're going to be very low on health. You normally go down to around 9%, so you just have time to land and repair if you're really good, but mostly you die from these, so you have to bail out. But if you only get hit by one of these, it's not even a disable, it only puts you down to about 51% health. It's not that bad, but these are dreaded by other jets and are frowned upon in the community, as they seem like a newbie weapon for people to use. These require 3 seconds to lock on, but if a pilot's using beam scanning, they'll probably be kicked out of the server because nobody likes them, but they do take only a 1 second lock on, so you're probably going to die if someone's using beam scanning. And each missile deals about 45% health damage, so it gives you 90% damage if both hit, as I've already said. Pro jet pilots do use these if they're going into dogfights with other people on 1v1, but there's no other need to use them as you're ineffective to all ground targets. We are now going to be talking about the rocket pods. These are unlocked at a 6,200 jet score. So these give you 14 rockets to fire at enemy tanks, jeeps or anything else, and they normally disable them and run. However, they do require a reload speed, but it's not that bad. It is really good to use if you're using conquest jets. If you're using rush jets, they're pointless as you already have the main cannon. This guide is mainly for the conquest jets though, so we won't go in about rush that much. Lastly, we have the guided missile. This is one that I mainly use as well as dealing a lot of damage to tanks. You can also view the battlefield from above, so you can pick out infantry units, and it gives you a really long range of spotting, so you can spot your targets, turn in to shoot them, and then eventually appear once you get close enough for the spotting to work with your main cannon and shoot them down like I do in the video. But they can be deflected by RL smoke. But if people are using jeeps, they have no defences and you normally get a free kill if you lock onto them. And they can also disable tanks, with the main cannon helping out just a tiny bit. So that's about it for the specializations of this video. But now we're going to talk about tactics. So as you see here, I'm just coming up behind the enemy jet, and I think I'm about to get the destroy if I actually get my aim properly. Okay, to start off, we're just going to talk about what happens if you get hit by a Stinger missile. So if you get hit by one of these, you will be instantly disabled. But what can you do? If you're using an extinguisher, well, let's use the extinguisher and get the hell out of there. But if you've already been hit and you're on fire, you can bail out if you have nowhere to land. But a good trick is to land on a wide flat area. You do not want to break that metro, as your jet will just fling up in the air and stop you from landing and you'll just destroy. So you want to maintain your speed, just slow down a tiny bit, hit the ground, hold on the brakes and keep your nose down so you don't fling up. And then you'll land, repair yourself and take off again. And when you take off, use your afterburners to try to avoid hitting other grounds. This is a tricky maneuver to master, but once you got it, it is perfect. So next, what is to do if you're being locked on? So if you're being locked on, you want to get the hell out of the area. You want to turn on your afterburners and fly in the opposite direction of where you think you're being locked on. You can also fly directly up. So the tactic I mainly used before a patch, but seeing they've increased the range of heat seekers and Stingers, you now have to fly to something like 800 feet, which is ridiculous, and it will lock onto you again if you already use your countermeasure. Okay, so now for using the guided missile and finding targets. So as you see here, I'm using a trick of looking for targets, switching to main cannon and getting the easy kills. and I'm just going to fly out the area and come back in. This is a tactic you should be using. You want to fly out, zoom back in the target you want to do, get a quick zoom, and then fire. And this is what I'm talking about. If you see a Jeep, lock onto it, boom, easy kill. And for armored kill, if you see the Ace-130, you want to come below it. Because if you come from the top, they're just going to shoot you with their AA guns, and they have 2 of them. So if both of them are teaming up on you, you are screwed. So if you just go below from the back, you can easily get a lot of shots off, and it normally takes 2 straight runs with short bursts, and you'll kill it. And as you see there, I crash into the enemy jet. My bad, I should have just got out and waited, but I was kind of eager to kill him. So I'm going to take off again, and now this clip is what shows what you can do if you're a good pilot. But what happens if you're taken on by another jet? You want to mainly look at your air radar and keep releasing ECM jamming to get behind. So if you're right, you don't want to get right behind them though, or else you're just going to keep turning and not be able to get a single shot off. So if you're behind him and he goes out your sight in the first person you do, switch to your third person, get behind him and switch to the first and get a couple of shots off. You want to brake really hard to go down to around 200 kilometers per hour, miles per hour or something like that, and then put your afterburners on to go all the way up to 400. This gives you a really short turning radius, and you can quickly maneuver right behind him. And mainly you just got to keep your eye on him, and if you practice it enough, your aim will get better. You just want to go into empty servers and just practice doing maneuvers. Like you want to start practicing doing barrel rolls, start practicing doing loop-the-loops, just start like practicing shooting at things, and maybe get a friend and you can both practice taking shots at each other. This is how I learnt, and I mainly did this in Battlefield 1943. And if you have that game, as long as Battlefield 3, you want to switch the controls to inverted in Battlefield 1943, as they are in BF3, and then go into air superiority and just practice taking on tons of other fighters. That is one of the best ways to learn. So as you see here, turn into the guided missile, shot off, and because he was already disabled, boom, instant kill. One last thing with the guided missile, it provides a splash damage, so if there's people repairing a tank, they'll die from the damage done. And as you see there, heat seekers hit that guy. I'm going to come in and finish him off, and a free kill. But this map is one of the best for jet pilots. It provides lots of obstacles to avoid, but it also provides a lot of cover. And there again, another Jeep instant kill. I cannot stress enough to use the guided missile against Jeeps and the rocket artillery. And now we're going to go straight behind and look for Mortar and go in for strafing runs. But I'm going to be locked on. I deployed my ECM too late. I'm going to try get low, but that still hits me down to 9% health. So I'm going to try land it here, but I make a mistake. I go in too hard and boom, I hit my nose and crash, and it was on a slope. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. See ya.